Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to day 5 of our training session. Today, we are going to talk about working with buyers, analysis and communication channels, and effective communication in order to convert buyers into potential clients. Buyer qualification. I always tell my team that buyer qualification is very vital because you don't want to go through a long back and forth, many meetings with your clients only to find out that your buyer is not qualified. When I say not qualified, what do I mean? Perhaps they don't have the funds in place. Perhaps the requirements that they have don't match exactly what's available in the market at that point of time. Or maybe they are shopping in the future and they're just potentially exploring the options today. So you got to identify who are the buyers that you want to work on immediately, in the sense who can close within the next couple of weeks, who can close within the next 3 months, who can close within the next 6 months, and who will potentially close after 1 year. And then you got to spend your time wisely and take it forward from there. So it's important to thoroughly qualify buyers from the first interaction itself, right? So we do a lot of role playing exercises within our company in order to pit one as the buyer and pit one as the advisor and ask questions. Your first interaction with a buyer, any buyer that may be, you, someone you got introduced through a network, someone that came in as a lead, someone you just met at a networking event, for example, you have to ask more questions than answer at that point of time. This is the opportunity that you have in order to gather and gain all the information that you want for you to understand exactly what kind of options do a pitch to them which match their requirement. So ask questions about their needs, right? Talk to them about the budget. I strongly believe that there is no such buyer in the market that has an open budget. Whenever someone tells me that I have an open budget, I immediately know that I need to dig out more information. So either they're not going to buy right now, or either they're not serious about it, or either they've not really planned for it yet. So I know that I have to work around that kind of information to extract that budget from them. For example, someone who's a finance buyer cannot have an open budget, right? They know what capability they have in order to lend money from the bank. They know what down payment they have in their bank account. Through few basic calculations, you're easily able to understand, okay, what kind of property are they able to go for? What's the capacity? What's the maximum threshold up to which that they can proceed ahead? So it's very important to understand what their budget is, even for cash buyers for that matter. If what kind of funds do they have into their account, what kind of equity are they holding, do they plan on buying with complete funds of their own, or do they plan to sell a property and utilize those funds? Those kind of things you need to talk through them to understand what their budget is. Preferred locations, super important, right? Like, yes, sometimes investors might come and say, look, I'm buying for rental income and I have no preferred locations, and offer me whatever you suggest. Still, I would say that it's important to nail down on some locations. Ask them questions such as, fair enough, you're buying for rental income. Do you ever plan to use the asset for your personal use or for your family in the future? If yes, then location can become important. In the future, do you want to resell the asset, or do you want to hold on to it for as long as possible in terms of rental income? If you do plan to resell it, then location again matters. If you plan to hold on to it for a very long time, then it's a completely different location where the ROI is going to maintain to be high, but the resale potential is not that high. So location, any kind of location that they've seen, any kind of locations that they're aware of, maybe certain locations their friends have bought into, are also very important. Property type, do they want to look into residential or do they want to look into commercial? Do they want to look into a townhouse or do they want to look into an apartment? These kind of elements are also important. Explain to them that if you're buying into an apartment, the service charges could be high. Whereas if you're buying into a townhouse and villa, the maintenance and upkeep of the property could be high. You're buying a small ticket size apartment, the tenant could come and go quick, right? So the vacancy days are also less, but the transition from one tenant to another is also very high, right? Whereas if you're getting a townhouse or a villa, your tenant stays for longer, but every time they vacate, the vacancy days could be high. So these kind of elements matter. And financing status, of course. Are they buying through cash or are they buying through mortgage? If they're buying through mortgage, it's super important that you first guide them that it's important to have a pre-approval in place. There's no point sourcing and looking for properties without understanding what kind of financing are they able to achieve from their bank. How much money are they able to take from the bank? What kind of down payment do they have to give? What's going to be the interest rate against it? And if they're buying for investment, will that interest rate be paid off by the rent that they're going to generate, or they're going to have to put more money from their pocket on them? So these kind of questions will help you avoid a lot of objections at a later stage in the deal. You could have gone through many viewings, many site visits, you're thinking about placing an offer, but at that stage, you and the client suddenly realize this option is not suitable. We can't go for it due to XYZ reasons. You'll avoid all of those pitfalls if you have clarity over exactly what the requirements are well in advance. And of course, timeline, right? Like, okay, you're exploring properties, but is the idea to buy today, or is the idea to buy after 3 months, or is it after 6 months? For example, you could show them ready properties today, but if their timeline to buy after 3 months is after 3 months, then is that property still going to be accessible? You could be talking about, for example, off plan projects with your client, but if they plan to buy after 6 months because their funds are not in the country, they got to move it, it's going to take some time, they might have some stocks that they want to sell, they might have some properties that they might want to sell, whatever the may be the reason, the product that you're talking to them about today might not even be available 6 months down the line. The pricing might not even stay the same. There might not be any inventory left in it, right? So these kind of elements are important to discuss before jumping into the viewings and meetings and really taking them through various different properties. So this ensures time is spent on serious and well matched prospects, guys. This is really important. In the early days of business, I've seen a lot of people come in who have wasted or spent, I would not say wasted, but spent a lot of time on deals and prospects which are not closable in the short term, or maybe they're closable in the long term, or they're not understanding what their requirements are and they're offering them options, and then they come back and say the deal did not close. What could be the reason for it? It's because that the filtration was not done in the first place. The idea of your first meeting with your buyer, your first call, your first discussion is extract, ask as many questions, keep your eyes and ears completely open, and filter out all the information that you can use in order to then prepare, okay, these are the right options based on your requirement, and this is why I'm offering you these kind of options. Okay, effective communication and rapport, it's super important. Again, we come back to the same thing, listening skills and empathy, right? We should ask them open-ended questions and don't be shy. If someone says, for example, I have an open budget, tell them that an open budget doesn't help them in order to offer them properties. Someone who tells me an open budget, I clearly ask them, shall I offer you properties of 10 million? They say, no, that's out of my budget. So tell me what exactly is your budget, because there's no such thing as an open budget, right? And listen actively to truly understand the buyer's motivation, right? Like, what is the reason why they're buying? For example, they're buying for an investment because they might want to move into the country in the future, or they're just diversifying their portfolio and they're happy with some kind of return of 6.5%, or perhaps they're buying an asset because they want their family to utilize it every time they come for holidays into this country for 1.5 months, and for the remaining time period it should be rented. So understand what the motivation and the reason behind buying is. I always tell my team, it's not the most important element that you want to understand within a client is why. Why are they investing? Why are they buying that property? Are they buying it for end use? Then the budget, the location, the elements of the interior, the layout, the community all make a big difference. Are they buying for future gain from for resale? Then the location, the developer, the project make a big difference. Are they buying because they want a fixed rental income? Then the area where a good tenant could come in, stay there for a long time period, the building is going to be maintained well, they're not going to have any maintenance. Those kind of elements all come into play. So that why is super important. Once you understand why they're investing, you'll know exactly what kind of products to offer them. So are they buying as an investor, end user, expanding family, whatever may be the reason, right? So building trust is key, and you got to maintain honesty and keep the buyer's interest at heart, right? Like, I've seen people wasting time and effort by offering investors properties because they have them in the portfolio, but they're not really specific to the requirements of the investor, right? Like, if you understand from your client that these are the requirements that they have, but I'll choose to offer them this. Why? Because I already have it in my bag. I have the seller of it and it's directly with me. Let me try to offer it. I don't think that's a good approach, right? You lose the client's trust. The client feels that you're not really understanding their requirements and they don't feel comfortable working with you, and you'll never materialize that kind of a transaction. So understand where the client's requirement comes from, why they are buying, what is the specification, and then prepare the dossier to offer them the rightful properties. Okay, we come back to matching properties to needs immediately after that. So we select properties that meet the client's criteria. For example, use your MLS system, which is a multi-listing system, or a company database. You might have the properties listed across Excel files, or you might have it on a CRM. Utilize those things to match the property. For example, you've understood the requirements, have figured, okay, the client is looking for a two-bedroom apartment in downtown Dubai. The size needs to be above 1200 square foot. The budget is 2.5 million. It has to be vacant on transfer. They're not too particular about the view, but the building has to be less than 5 years old. Now you've clearly understood what the requirements and the dynamics of that particular property for your client are. you can now search that database to see whatever matches those kind of requirements and prepare those options for your clients. You got to manage buyer's expectations. So if a wish list, for example, is unrealistic, a client sometimes can come up to you and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a three-bedroom apartment. I wanted no less than 1,500 square foot. I wanted in this area, but my budget is this." And if you feel like within that kind of a budget, you're unable to obtain anything for the client because they're an end user, so they might want decent quality, they might want a building that's not very old, the maintenance should be good, the has to be right, and the size has to be minimum a certain amount. And if you feel that their wish list is unrealistic based on the budget, then provide market data to them and recalibrate the option. Show them that, look, these are the recent sale prices in the area. I can bring across a proposal of a similar unit for you, but it's not going to have maybe the size you want. It's not going to be less than 5 years old, and perhaps it's not going to have the right maintenance and the quality that you're looking for. Are you okay with that? If you are, I'll present it to you. But if those components and elements are super important to you, then we have to recalibrate your requirement. What do I mean by that? Perhaps we have to increase the budget. Okay, you're buying on finance. Are you able to increase the budget? Do you have eligibility to go higher on loan to value with the bank? Do you have a higher down payment, or you're buying on cash? Do you have the required funds in account in order to go higher? Can you maybe borrow from friends and family? Are you capable of doing all that? If they say yes, well and good, then increase the budget and talk to them through the options that will fit their requirement. If they say no, fair enough. Can we compromise on the size, for example? Yes, I know you said you wanted three-bedroom above a certain size, but can we go lower size? If we can, then I can find you the right option. So understand exactly what elements are they comfortable to negotiate on, and what elements are super particular to them that they cannot bend and be flexible on, and then take it forward from there. So recalibrate as and when you feel like the requirement is not matching or it's unrealistic. And there's no point hunting the market for properties which fit the client's requirement, knowing very well that you're not going to get the right option for them. You're wasting your time and you're wasting their time, and you're giving them unrealistic expectations by telling them, yes, I'm going to find you an option. That's also not the right approach to take. So set realistic expectations up front so that it prevents frustration later and it ends up wasting your and their times. Now, presenting options and storytelling. I keep telling my entire team that viewings and meetings are an art. I can tell you that there are multiple advisors in the market. You give them the same property, you give them the same client. One would be able to sell it through the art within which they carry forward the viewing, and one would not be able to sell it because of the way they carry forward the viewing. So it's really important. When you take a client for a meeting, when you take a client for a viewing, there's an art to it. You really have to master it. You really have to be great at it. You have to have that storytelling element in it. And that's how the buyers and your clients get convinced in order to transact with you. So you don't just list features, right? Like you don't go to a viewing and say, "Hey, by the way, this is a three-bedroom apartment. It's this size. It's got two master bedrooms. It's got ensuite. The kitchen is overlooking the living area. You've got a balcony that sees." And please, by all means, go ahead and explore. That's not how a viewing works, right? Like you're not there as a messenger to give them the features of it. You're there to take them through that entire experience and explain to them the elements of that property and why they're suitable based on what their requirements are, right? So we should frame how each property fits the client's needs or lifestyle. For example, the client tells you that, look, I'm buying a villa, it's for an end use, I would love my family to live there, I have kids who go to XYZ school, and these are my requirements, this is my budget. And if you found the right option and you're there for a viewing with them, take them through it by explaining to them that this villa checks your boxes for a large garden. You wanted a large garden, you want a big back area in order for your kids to run around and play. It matches exactly those requirements where your kids can play, and it's near the school that you mentioned. So we've ticked a lot of the boxes that you were looking for. Is that right? If it is, then should we proceed ahead with giving an offer on it? And if it's not, is there an element that I've missed up? So frame that story well. For example, you take them to a building or you take them to a project, take them through the experience and tell them that, look, you mentioned that you're looking for a two-bedroom, you want it to be minimum this much size, the view is kind of important to you, and you want a building which is relatively fresh. This is why I got you this particular project. The view is fantastic, it's beautiful, completely open views, no blockage. The building is made by XYZ developer who's known for managing their projects very well, and it's relatively new. You wanted the unit to be never occupied, and this particular unit has been handed over the last 1.5 years, but never been occupied, and it fits within the price range that we want, and it's got a beautiful living area that's exactly how you and your family wanted it. So it kind of fits all the boxes that we were looking for. Would you say that you're happy with this kind of property? Or if you don't like it, tell me what are the reasons and elements you didn't like. So in my next option, I don't include those. Those are also very important, right? So create a narrative that helps buyers emotionally connect with the property. Understand one thing, yes, buyer practically connect with the property, right? The requirements are practical: budget, number of bedrooms, layout, location, close to amenity, close to school. These are practical requirements. Then there's an emotional requirement. There's a certain element of energy that buyers feel when they walk into a property or walk into a developer's office where they want to invest. They feel some kind of connect to that particular property. That's also very important, right? That dictates 10 to 15% of the decision making. Yes, practicality would dictate 80-85% of the decision making, but this connect also dictates that decision making. So you want to make sure that you build that rapport also with them. Another element that's super important that I tell always my team is, whenever clients talk to you and say, look, I'm interested in investing this, ask them what have they already seen. It's not so much about, yes, you want this location, yes, you want this budget, yes, this is the requirement that you have. I'm sure the majority of the clients have already been exploring the market. It's very rare that you'd be the first person that they're talking to, or you'd be the first one that they're doing viewings with, or the first one that they're doing developer meetings with, right? They've spoken. Ask them, hey, you've been exploring this market for the last 3 months, right? As you said, and you're looking at some kind of off-plan investment. You must have gone to XYZ developer's office, right? You must have spoken to another advisor. They must have taken you there. So tell me, why didn't you end up buying, or why didn't you end up going ahead with that purchase? What were the elements of that particular project or that developer or that investment that did fit well within your requirement, within your brackets? Tell me why you didn't go ahead with it, so I can understand what kind of elements I need to avoid and what kind of elements I need to change in order to bring my offering to you, which fits your requirement. That's really critical, right? That'll give you an idea of what are the things that stop the client from making that call. And so you don't repeat that and have your work around it. That's very critical. Lastly, building authority with buyers, right? It's important that we educate buyers about the market. Our job with our clients is not just to do a transaction, it's to either educate. That's why I say you create a pipeline. Deals that can close today or deals that can close after 3 or 6 months. The ones that will close after 3 or 6 months, today your job is to educate them where the market is at, where is the market potentially heading at, what could be the differences in the options that we're getting today and 6 months later, and if they're capable to, why should they enter this market today rather than waiting it out? And if it is better for them to wait it out, explain to them and be absolutely honest with them. For example, they want a project or they want a investment in a certain location, but that launch has not yet happened. But you have news that will happen in the future. Great. Tell them that, hey, I agree with you. You like this location, you like this kind of a project, it fits well within your requirements. Unfortunately, today there are certain units that remain. Those are not the prime units, but there's a launch anticipated after 3 to 6 months. And because you told me that your timeline to buy is anyways 3 months later, we might as well wait it out for this particular project, see exactly what launch comes, and then enter the market. So be honest and upfront with them based on what their requirements um, are, right? So share knowledge on recent transactions or even upcoming developments. It positions you as a trusted advisor. Talk to them through it, even if they're not buying today. Tell them, by the way, the last 5 transactions in this project were for this much, and the current market is going at this much. This is what the rental income is at. Sure, you're telling me that you are potentially buying this asset for yourself use, your family is going to live there. But there is going to come a time in the future, right, that you might decide to upgrade yourself to a different property. So you might want to rent it out or you might want to sell it. I'm telling you what are the benefits that the tenants look for in this area. Why are so many tenants coming to this area? There's a hospital, there's a school, there's a mall, there's a hotel, there's public transportation, there are all nice restaurants. So whenever you do decide to, I can't tell you where the market will be 3 years down the line, right, in terms of rental income. But whenever you do decide to vacate, I feel that this asset has a very strong potential to rent itself. Or perhaps you feel like the rentability is not that high, but the resale potential is high. Good, educate them on that. They might not require it today, but it's good for them to have this kind of a knowledge, knowing that in the future, if they need to upgrade or if they need to exit this asset, you're able to help them. Our job with clients is not just to help them enter the market. And I know majority of the advisors in the market are able to help their clients enter. And 8 out of 10 advisors in the market find that quite easy. But where you become an expert in your field and where you stand out is when you can help with the entry as well as the exit. That is super important. A client needs to be taken through the entire journey with them, and that's when they'll want to do repeat business with you, because you're able to invest their money, but the idea of investment is to make a return, and you're able to make that return for them and complete the cycle. So that's very, very important. Clients are more likely to stick with an advisor who clearly knows the market inside and out. Like I've said multiple times before, property investment is probably going to be the biggest financial transaction majority of the clients are going to make in their lifetime, right? And if you're the one who's advising them on that particular transaction, just imagine the weightage that they're giving to your opinion. And that's why they're relying on it. So it's our duty to be honest about it, upfront about it, and share with them exactly whatever market knowledge we have and target them towards the requirement that they have and not something else that is sitting with us in our pocket and just might be easier transaction for us. I hope you found today's session useful. If you have any questions linked to this session, please drop them in the comments and I'll be answering it directly for you. Thank you.